Slovakia Chronicles, a podcast of information, news and much more of our beloved Slovakia. By Andrea Paolo Mazzucchetti. It's me! Let's start. Hello everyone, welcome to the 18th episode of the Slovakia Chronicle podcast. Due to the COVID and its restriction measures, traveling is becoming more complex and complicated as never before. In fact, foreigners, including EU citizens, who have visited a country not listed as a safe country within the last 14 days, may enter the Slovak Republic through the internal border of Slovak Republic with the Czech Republic, Republic of Austria, Republic of Poland and Hungary, as well as our border, provided that they comply with the quarantine measures of the Public Health Authority. In particular, people who enter the territory of the Slovak Republic and who visited a country not considered to be a safe country from the epidemiological point of view during the previous 14 days are ordered to remain in home isolation, self-isolation, until they receive the negative test, PCR, for COVID-19. These are the countries considered safe till now: Australia, Austria, Belgium, Croatia, China, Cyprus, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Faroe Islands, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, Japan, Liechtenstein, Lithuania, Latvia, Hungary, Malta, Monaco, Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Poland, Slovenia, South Korea, Spain, Switzerland, United Kingdom. If the person doesn't have a place of residence in Slovak Republic, the isolation in a hotel or accommodation facility is acceptable. This person is obliged to contact the competent regional public health authority and to undergo the laboratory diagnosis of COVID-19 not earlier than on the 5th day of home isolation. During the period of home isolation, this isolation is also ordered to people living in a common household with the isolated person. So, definitely the best way to enjoy the summer vacation is to visit Slovakia and discover its beauty. Talking with different people, even Slovak citizens, I found out that not many of them had the willing till now to travel in the country, because they always prefer to visit other foreign places. But of course, Slovakia has much to offer. The issue is that it's not well advertised to the global audience. In fact, how many of us foreigners have idea about Slovakia before actually coming physically here? To answer to this question and to help us to get to know more about our beloved country, I have contacted two experts in this field, Zuzana Palovic and Gabriela Bereghazyova, leaders behind Global Slovakia, a non-profit organization that seeks to promote Slovakia on the global stage. So get ready to start with us this voyage in the Slovak culture and history, and stay tuned for more information on our giveaway. Thank you very much, girls, to be here. It's a real pleasure. Actually, you are the first group that I was thinking to interview when I started this channel. And I was waiting at the right moment to involve you because, of course, at the moment I didn't have that much audience. So, of course, I wanted to give you more visibility as possible in my limited way, but still, because I like your activities. So definitely, I love to support these activities. So I let you, of course, introduce yourself as you wish, in order.
So Susie, go. You are the founder.
Okay. So my name is Zuzana Palovic. I'm the founder of Global Slovakia. I was born in communist Czechoslovakia, and about 1 year before the revolution, my parents defected. So that means we legally crossed the Iron Curtain. We went over into Free Austria, where we stayed in various refugee camps for about 9 months before we eventually emigrated to the New World. So I grew up in Canada, then the United States, and I've had the privilege to kind of really explore the world thanks to my dual citizenships. I have Slovak and Canadian passports, and I've lived in about 10 countries across 4 continents. I did my PhD on Slovak migration, also as a means to better understand my journey, my roots, and the story of my parents and everything that we went through. And since I've returned to Slovakia and set up Global Slovakia together with Gabriela, with the ambition to share Slovakia story with the world and do it through the means of the English language, because we definitely noticed a gap. There's a lot of great content in Slovak, but there's not that much great content about Slovakia in global languages like English. And when it's written, it's sometimes written from a foreigner perspective, which is very good. But we also wanted to kind of give a Slovak voice by Slovaks to the world. So that's what Global Slovakia is.
Amazing. That's what I like it. And also thanks to you, I learned something. So thank you. And I like this initiative because actually I can confirm for myself, because from Italy, we don't have this knowledge about Slovakia at all, I would say. So thanks with this initiative, for sure, will be more awareness about this country that deserves to be known. So,
yes. Well, let me allow Gabby to introduce herself, because
yes.
Slovakia wouldn't exist without her. So
Definitely.
It would. So I'm Gabriela Bereghazyova, and I was born behind the Iron Curtain in Czechoslovakia. But unlike Zuzana's family, my family stayed. So when the Iron Curtain collapsed, I was 3 years old. And then I was growing up, going to school in transitional Slovakia, then going to university after Slovakia joined the EU. So I remember the entire transition process. And it was at university that I started traveling more, and I started living abroad, so many countries within Europe and outside of Europe. I lived in the Middle East for a little while. And then eventually destiny took me to Britain, where I did my master's degrees and eventually my doctorate, which is on corruption in Slovakia and on Slovak mindsets. And this is where in London, Zuzana and I met. And we first sort of cross-compared notes on our perspectives on Slovakia, and we started to see the commonalities and the gaps that exist. We had the same experience when it comes to being a Slovak and being away from Slovakia or outside of Slovakia. It's a country that's not known, which brings with it some smiley situations, but also a lot of challenges. So this is what we want to overcome or correct, and that's how Global Slovakia was born. 3 years ago or 4 years ago? 3 years ago.
Okay, great. And cool. Now I start to understand how you come out with this idea. So that's is the insight that I was asking. Perfect. And how you sponsor your work also in the foreign community, right?
So Global Slovakia is a non-for-profit organization, and it's very much a labor of love. And the funding of our activities is something that we do kind of struggle with. There is no consistent, let's say, sustainability plan and operation yet. We're learning along the way. So we're very much vision orientated. So we don't start a project just like, with a table and counting costs and expenses. We start with the vision, that's our target, and we just start moving towards the vision and kind of trust the universe that people, institutions, or various forms of funds will somehow come. And they do manage to come, but it is very much a shoestring operation, which is why, although we do this work full time, we still have to consult on the side to sustain our livelihood. Eventually, we do hope that this organization can live on its own. And one of the means that we're trying to establish that is through our book sales. So we create this content with the mission to drive these awareness raising education campaigns across the world about Slovakia's history, about Slovakia's story, and to sustain ourselves financially, we strive to do that through book sales. Now, that's very, very difficult to do unless you're, a big-time best-selling author like J.K. Rowling. But nevertheless, we're trying our best, and it's coming through. There's been we've been noticed by various institutions also in Slovakia, so we've gotten some grant support here and there, and we're always being innovative and entrepreneurial with finding new ways to generate revenue, whether that's through our Global Slovakia Academy, where we yet again found a new means to communicate our knowledge, not just in books, but through these kind of lecture coursework programs.
Okay, so this is the Global Slovakia Academy is a project that we started this year, also in response to the current crisis in the world and the corona pandemic, which means that countries and state institutions have other priorities. So our funding dropped dramatically this year, so we needed to react to it, which is why we set up a Global Slovakia Academy. And that platform it builds on our books, but over the years we've collected so much more information and knowledge than could be put into books. So we decided to find another outlet for it, and that's the courses that we are running. The first one is called Slovakia Beyond the Known. And it's tailored to all those who don't know Slovakia or have Slovak roots. In some way they're interested in it, and this is the program that goes really deep. It explores not just the milestones of history, so that we set Slovakia in context for people. So we draw out what was going on in Slovakian history vis-a-vis what was going on in the world. We also explore the folklore, culture, but not superficially. We actually go into the deep explanations and we tease out the foundations of these customs. We also offer recipes. We translate the wisdom of our grandmothers in multiple ways. So whether it's a basic guide to picking herbs, making teas and potions. So that's all part of it, as well as monthly webinars with us, which is very popular. So this is kind of a very multifaceted way of looking at Slovakia. We take many different perspectives. It's been very popular, especially with Slovaks who left Slovakia long ago, or their parents left Slovakia long ago, and they're trying to connect with their Slovak roots. Because the course is so popular and the content is so popular, we're preparing more programs. So the next one will be a course on Slavic mythology, because we know a lot about the Roman mythology, Greek mythology, Egyptian mythology, Mayas, Chinese, whatever, but there is very little known about the Slavs, and there is very little available in English about this culture.
I can confirm.
Yes, exactly. So that's gonna be the focus of the mythology course. We are also working on a course on Slovak fairy tales, where we'll look at Slovak fairy tales, translate them into English, and decode them. There will be a special course for Christmas. So we've been very busy with this activity, and we are always monitoring the trends, and we're trying to respond and do our best to give people what they want and to really make Slovakia interesting to people outside of Slovakia.
Of course.
We find that, we started with this noble vision of writing these books, but we also, we're very aware of the reaction of our readership and our followers. And we also noticed that a lot of people don't necessarily have time to come home after a busy day of work and to dive into a 600-page book. History book, so we're trying to find ways to kind of communicate that very valuable history and the lessons learned from history, but in fun, more smaller doses. And that's exactly what that teachable program is doing. Our Global Slovakia Academy it's communicating very profound knowledge, potentially life-changing knowledge, but in small doses. That's way more fun and interactive, and has our lectures on it, etc.
And a lot of videos, so it's exciting for people to connect to. It's not about flipping pages.
Perfect. This I will go deeper about this information because I didn't know, so definitely is a good discovery. And I want to ask you, because you already travel a lot, so you talk with people, you share your thoughts about Slovakia. What is the reputation of Slovakia all around the world? What is your opinion?
So I would say we're pretty much unknown. I mean, thankfully, Czechoslovakia does have a reputation. People somehow, that country was like a mythological powerhouse, you know. People wherever you are in the world, especially also in developing countries, you know, in India or in Egypt, etc., they know Czechoslovakia because of the motorcycles that were exported. They know Czechoslovakia because of the artillery production, because of the Cold War division. You know, so Czechoslovakia was a huge ammunition manufacturing powerhouse that exported a lot of weapons throughout the world. So people know us through this trade craft, and also through our athletic success. I would say, you know, Czechoslovaks did very well in the Olympics. In tennis, we had a lot of legends. So people know Czechoslovakia. Slovakia is only 27 years old. We were the lesser, smaller brother in the dual state alliance of Czechs and Slovaks. So we're definitely unknown, but there's so much opportunity in the fact that we are unknown. It's the fact that there's not a lot of impressions or preconceptions about what Slovakia is, other than the typical Cold War ones. So we have a huge opportunity here. And I also mean this on a national level, to communicate Slovakia's story, because we're essentially communicating into a blank slate. You know, people really don't know what to think about us.
True, this is a good point actually. Yes, because you can build your own reputation from now on. So there is not. Italy is, of course, everybody knows Italy, but they know not only the good stuff, but also the bad stuff. No, so this is very difficult to then people change their mind. For example, this mafia style, for example. Even if it's, well, I would say that it's finished, this period is still in the mind of the people, no? Like, pizza, mafia, no? Like, all the stereotypes are coming, no? So definitely this is a good opportunity for you. Definitely, yeah, totally agree. And you were talking about books that you wrote. I would like to know more about these books, because I know, but of course, people maybe they don't know about the topics of them. You are also planning to release also other 2 books, right?
Yes.
I was checking this, so I can let you introduce the one that are already made.
Our first book, which is actually sold out right now in bookstores, is called Slovakia, the Legend of the Linden. And we actually really recommend this one also for the foreigner community in Slovakia. It's a 200-page book, but it's very concise and in terms of communicating the milestones of Slovakia's history, but it's not text. It's over 200 pages of visuals, and the story is told through an emotive language and also through symbolism. So we tell the story through the linden tree and its heart-shaped leaf, and how this code has actually followed Slovakia, the Slovak people. And our second book, would you like to introduce it, Gabby?
Behind the Iron Curtain. It's also a book on history, but this time we looked at the recent history of the Czech Republic and Slovakia, which is 41 years behind the Iron Curtain. So this is the communist era, where we documented not just how it came about, how the regime change happened, but also how it transformed the 15 million nation from democratic to communist so fast. So we looked at the mechanism and we analyzed them in great depth, but we presented it in a very accessible and understandable way. And we also collected stories of people who lived in those times. So these were our neighbors, our grandmas, but we then reached out further into artistic circles, politicians, former prime minister, diplomats and ambassadors, to give us their perspectives and how they remember and how they lived the era. So it's a very rich mosaic that we believe to be a very objective perspective on history that is still very emotional in Slovakia. It's still history that is alive. You know, Zuzana and I were both born under the regime. We were very little, but we still remember some things. But our mothers, our grandmothers, they lived it. So this is not something that's far removed. It's very recent for us, and it's a very timeless story in the world today, because it's not just about Czechoslovakia 50 or 60 years ago. This is about freedom, what freedom is, how easily it could be lost, what are the warning signs that usually precede a flip in politics and move away from freedom, and how it's restored. So it's a message to the world to remember that freedom is not a privilege that we are born with. It's something that we have to protect, and something that our ancestors had to fight for, and even die for, some of them. And we're now in the process of translating that book into Slovak.
point.
And the third book is actually very, very actually relevant to the Slovakian context, particularly for young people, which it's targeted at, which is students. And it's called The Great Return. And it's a coffee table book. It's 300 pages and it has 58 portraits. And it basically highlights the story of a Slovakia in the 21st century as it ascended into the European Union. And our people, or people including myself, Gabriela, thanks to our Slovak passports, got freedom of movement, which is a really big thing if you consider our parents, or even us. We were born in the Iron Curtain, and if we wanted to go into Europe, we were shot at. So this was a huge, a pivot point in history. So in this book, we looked at Slovaks, young Slovaks that went abroad, utilized this privilege, and have since come back. And now, because of the knowledge and languages and contacts and know-how they acquired abroad, they're actually implementing it in Slovakia and helping the country to do a quantum leap, a very rapid evolution forward. Because a lot of the things with knowledge is like, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Because we weren't part of a democratic world for 40 years, because we weren't part of the capitalist world, that meant we weren't part of global markets, etc. There's certain know-how that was lost across the generations, and that know-how is as simple as being an entrepreneur, knowing how to run a business. Small family businesses were collectivized. That means they were seized by the government. So this capacity to provide a livelihood for yourself is a really new skill set. So we can figure it out ourselves through trial and error, reading lots of manuals about how to run a business, or you can just go to Germany, UK, Italy, France, and see people doing it, download that knowledge and bring that back and seed it into your own country and start new things and share it further.
Exactly, yes. Cool. And the one that are coming?
It was specifically looking at young Slovaks that left and returned, hence the title, The Great Return. So returnees, and that's meant to trigger at least the archetype of the potential to return, because right now Slovakia is suffering from brain drain, particularly with its young population. If we look at statistics to university populations, Slovaks have the highest out-migration in terms of university population in all of the European Union. So that means Slovakia is losing a lot of skilled people that would potentially, if they were to stay in Slovakia, would evolve into very senior decision-making positions and build a country. Now, if they're outside helping to build UK, Germany, Italy, France, who's going to do that here? So we just wanted to show that when you go abroad, you can also think about coming back. And if you don't want to come back to Slovakia because you have better conditions in London, at least think of how you can give back to your motherland. Because Slovakia is in a unique position right now where it could really benefit from your knowledge and skills.
Yeah, definitely. Totally agree. And it's developing still every year, is growing and growing. So I would say that is a good place to stay and to improve. So
yes,
definitely yes. And besides the Global Slovakia Academy, what other program are you offering? I remember that you are offering also program for companies.
We would love to do actually more of that. But right now, because of Corona, things have shifted. Also Gabby and I we were stuck in quarantine in different countries abroad. But I think there's a program that Gabriela already touched upon that has great appeal, not just for Slovaks, but also for foreigners. And it's this Slavic mythology program that she already explained, which is really, really fascinating because there is so much little information about it in English. And it's a really interesting, if you really want to understand Slovakia, you can't just understand it in terms of communism or in terms of its Christian past, because that's only been 1,000 years. There's an actually much older history, and that history and mythology shapes the people and shapes a lot of the traditions we do today. And so it's a really wonderful way for also foreigners to get more intimately connected with Slovakia, which we really want to encourage, because we understand that a lot of foreigners maybe don't feel quite welcome or don't quite get Slovakia because there's not enough, information out there that communicates Slovakia's story and culture. It's kind of an unknown. And we think this could be a shortcut to really connecting to the root of who Slovaks are.
Because also this is very, mythologies in Europe, it's a small continent, so they're all connected. That's our shared history and shared culture and shared history. So by learning about the Slavic mythology, you can easily see the similarities with what people believed in ancient Greece or in ancient Rome. So it's one of those tools that can help relate Slovakia to foreigners, and also explain why Slovaks are the way they are, because that's something that we come across again and again. We're being asked, it's like, why do Slovaks react like this or like that? Why do they do this? Because there's no information available. Those who don't know us, who don't know our history, they struggle just understanding in the daily situations and interactions. So this is one way of bridging it.
I would say that there is still unknown most of the parts of the Slovak culture. So definitely I will be interested to understand more about it, and foreign too, because they are living here. If they are living here, they need to know it, at least a bit of background. So that will be super useful.
And these are such fascinating stories, you know, it's worth it.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it's also a really good investment. I mean, if you understand the root of who Slovaks are, you can understand the root of who Slavic people are. And Slavic people are the largest ethnic group in Europe. 1 in 3 Europeans speaks the Slavic language. Slavic countries produce the largest landmass collective in Europe. So we are the actually unknown majority ethnic group in Europe, you know, and no one knows anything about us. And one of the reasons is because culturally we're not really big into codifying our past, and also because of the Iron Curtain, which kind of, you know, had us contained, and there was this, you know, ideological division for 41 years or longer if you refer to the Soviet Union. So this is really the knowledge that we provide is really key into a fascinating world of 300 plus million people.
Definitely, totally agree with this. And what about your future plan?
Well, we're currently working on another book, which it's called Super Slovaks or Super Slovacy. So it's a book that presents 50 stories of outstanding Slovaks who, you know, dare to follow their dream, and they changed Slovakia and they changed the world. And we track these individuals from a deep past, from Great Moravia and its kings to the present day president, Zuzana Čaputová, the first female president in the history of Slovakia. So it's a book that's written both in Slovak and in English, and it has always pretty portrait done by one of our artists. And that's our immediate project that we're working hard on finalizing now, because that should come out just before Christmas. We are, as I already said, we're translating that Czechoslovakia Behind the Iron Curtain into Slovak, because it's actually very important for Slovaks to understand their history and to understand what happened to them. So we are, as part of this, we talk to teenagers and students in schools to raise awareness about their history and their legacy. For a while, we've been talking about moving from books to audiovisual and documentaries. So that's something that still remains our objective, and we're moving towards it. Also with these online courses, because that's something that features a lot of videos, etc. So that's our biggest goal. That's the direction that we want to go in, because Slovakia and in general the region of Central Europe has so much to offer. The history is fascinating, whether it's history of the last century or the history from 2 millennia ago, and the world is always hungry to discover something new, you know, and there is this mystery in the heart of Europe that is waiting to be explored and discovered, and all these stories waiting to be told. So we don't have to go far, it's right in Europe. And the video, documentaries, film, etc., that would be the perfect way of introducing Slovakia to the real massive global audience.
Yeah.
So we have this secret vision board, mental vision board, where we want to, our end goal for this documentary or this series exploring the stories of Central and Eastern Europe is Netflix. You know, we really want to go with the contemporary mainstream platform that thanks to also Corona, everyone has on their laptops, because our goal is to really transmit this message and to, through this really raise the visibility of Slovakia, but also the Slavic world.
Yeah, it's a cool idea, actually. So I didn't even think about it, but yes, it would be cool to see Global Slovakia on Netflix.
Coming soon.
Soon.
Yes.
2021.
Yeah. Well, if you manage, really, let me know so I can sponsor you in 3 seconds. Really. So, yes. Okay. Because if you have anything to add.
Just very, a little curious about like how you started this and your journey into helping to share Slovakia with the world and also the expat community.
Well, I started during this lockdown period because it was on my list to do for a long time when I came here. Because when I came basically 4 years ago, I didn't have anywhere else to check for information, at least in English. So for me, it was very difficult to find what I needed. And at least you have somebody like, for example, a Slovak friend that can guide you here. You are really, I won't say alone, but really it's very difficult to find information. There are like very few sources in English. For example, SME, Spectator, I can say, or I don't know, this RTV radio that is giving information in English, but that's it. This was and of course they are very institutional and you need to search for them. So it's not easy to find it. But okay, you know what? Why not collect like the most important news like that we are now that are, for example, this Corona situation, important news for all the week in one podcast of 10 minutes. So that's how we started. So to collect this information and make like the most important things that are important for foreign people. So I can share them like in the foreign community in English, and I was doing in English and in Italian. And then I started to make this interview because I think that was also a good way also to present some local activities that deserve to be known by foreigners, and also like foreign activity. For example, I make an interview for an Italian journalist that is working here. So it's like bonding these communities, the Slovak and the foreign community together to, I don't know, do something. Also, for example, I will be interested to know for example, about your activities. Maybe people they are not aware about it. So people can choose what, according to their interests, what they would like to follow. So this is a way that I like it also to listen. I'm listening a lot of podcasts. I know that is not the most iconic way here in Slovakia. Is not so popular, I would say, still. But I'm confident that in the future it will be. So of course, starting first, you have more time also to develop your skills. So you are going to be ready at the moment that is needed. So, and then let's say I'm doing this for free. So I'm just giving information. So it's my passion. So for inform people.
And thank you so much for doing it, because we really do need,
Thank you for
people and activities and platform sites to really to unify the community in Slovakia, wherever like people come from, Slovaks and foreigners.
This is the way. So I instead to have a buddy to guide you, it can be me or whatever who else, to show them, look, there is this possibility, or there is also this one. So I'm trying to present different topics every time, so they have showing also the Slovak culture in different ways through their activities. So
I was just brainstorming as you were talking, because it's such a worthwhile cause what you're doing, and it's so important, and I commend you for taking the initiative to do it, not to wait around. Like often when there's this kind of need for something, we always hope that someone else will do it. But that's but often as the saying goes, we are the ones we've been waiting for, and that applies to everything. So congratulations. And one way Gabriela and I could maybe contribute to your cause is if you want to do like a webinar for your community, like let's say organize a webinar, and we would be happy to put together like an hour of content, so like a 40-minute presentation just kind of communicating Slovakia's story, and then offering 20 minutes for Q&A with your community of followers.
So thank you very much, girls.
Thank you.
So, if you would like to have more information about the great initiative to share Slovakia with the world proposed by Global Slovakia, you can find their contacts in the description of the episode. Help us to spread the beauty of our beloved country abroad. And that's not all. The time has come to announce our giveaway sponsored by Global Slovakia. The first 8 people that we share on Facebook this episode will receive an hard copy of the book Behind the Iron Curtain. So, take advantage of this opportunity to know more about the history of Czechoslovakia during the communism. Thank you for being part of the Slovakia Chronicle family, and stay safe.